to all my respected teachers and dear colleagues. Today we are presenting a case of postpartum woman who came with swelling of both her eyes. So the patient is a 23-year-old Hindu lady who is a housewife and residing in Garden Ridge. She presented in the emergency department with complaints of fever and chills for a span of 1 month, along with headache, which was off and on for a period of 20 days, and swelling around both her eyes for 2 weeks. So, elaborating her complaints, she had a history of full-term normal delivery.
She is the patient. Okay.
1 month back. Her postpartum period was basically uneventful, but 1 month after delivery, she subsequently developed fever. So, 1 month after delivery, and around 4 weeks. So, fever was ranging from 99 to 100 degrees of Fahrenheit. It did not show any diurnal variation, such as an evening rise or any other changes. She had complaints of chills and rigors, and it was associated with generalized body ache and easy fatigability. The headache, which lasted for the last 20 days, was throbbing in nature, located mostly over the frontal region. She also complained of 2 episodes of vomiting and nausea, especially more after food intake. She didn't give complaint of any history of any burning, micturition, any change in the vision, any cough, cold, running nose. Her headache didn't show any aggravating or relieving factors. So this was her eyes at the time of presentation. As we can see, there are the eyes are swelled up with dark circles around both the eyes. There was no history of any classical warning rise of or aggravation of the swelling of the eyes. She didn't have any pedal edema. And the patient didn't have any cough, cold, any history of rash, any photophobia, photosensitivity, or any convulsion, ulcers over the mouth or other mucocutaneous junctions. No history of any palpitation, lateral bowel changes, or any weight loss. Now coming to her past history, she didn't have any history of pulmonary tuberculosis, enteric fever, jaundice. She is normotensive and euglycemic without any history of blood transfusion. A personal history, not a known patient of any substance abuse. Diet is mixed. Bowel bladder habits are normal, without any history of sexual promiscuity. Married at the age of 19 years, blessed with 1 son. Her menstrual history, attended menarche at 13 years of age. Menstrual cycle comprised of 5 to 6 days of flow in 28 to 30 days of cycle. No history of passage of clothes or dysmenorrhea. There is no history of any OCP intake. Puerperal history, following delivery, she did not have any history of any fever. That is 1 month till her delivery. There were no complaints of any calf muscle tenderness, any prolonged discharge per vaginally, or other significant complaints. Now in her family history, there are no history of any diabetes or hypertension in her family. All the family members are in good health without any similar complaints. Now drug history, she is not a known allergic towards any commonly used drugs. She only gives history of occasional analgesics for her headache. Now on general examination, we had an alert-oriented and conscious lady, supine, comfortable, lying on bed. Height was short or 140 centimeters with BMI 22 kg per meter square without any obvious pallor clubbing cyanosis. There was edema around both the eyes. JPP was not raised and no significant lymphadenopathy appreciated. Her temperature was raised at time of examination at 100.6 degrees of Fahrenheit. She was tachycardic with a pulse rate of 104 per minute, but it was regular. Blood pressure was 130 by 82 millimeters of mercury. Respiratory rate was 18 per minute. Now coming to the systemic examination, first higher mental function. So she was well-oriented, conscious lady with normal behavior, memory, no complaints of any hallucination, delusions, no speech difficulty. She is right-handed. All her cranial nerves, including fundus oculi, were within normal limit. Now in the motor system, nutrition was normal, tone intact, and the power at the various muscles were all within normal limits. Coordination was good, without any obvious cerebral signs. Sensory system was largely normal. In the deep tendon reflexes, all the jerks were normal except bilateral in the knee jerk which was slightly brisk. Gait was normal, so was her posture and knee movements. Parabdominally, we have centrally placed umbilicus with linea nigra, straight diagram seen. The fundus height of the uterus has reverted back to the normal size without a localized tenderness, and on external genitalia, on hemispherectomy wound was seen, which was healthy. The remaining of her systems, respiratory and cardiovascular, was largely within normal limit. So to summarize my case, we have a 23-year-old female with history of full-term normal delivery of a male child 1 month back, following which she had complaints of fever, headache, and swelling around both her eyes. Examination revealed a low-grade fever, tachycardia, without any other obvious abnormalities.
No, this is a very another interesting case. This lady is here, so definitely a relief from this all suffering. But 1 month after delivery, there is fever with swelling of the eye. Maybe problem with the venous drainage of the eye. So any opinion from the house? Dr. Gautam Pal?
Lots of in this stage there are lots of cavernous sinus.
Hello. Cavernous sinus thrombosis.
Bilateral.
Bilateral. Usually it presents with bilateral periorbital swelling.
Yes,
with
especially
fever.
the setting up of fever and delivery recently,
Right.
swelling and headache. So all the points are going in favor of your diagnosis. Which you rightly said.
The one point that are going against the diagnosis of cavernous sinus thrombosis per se is the presence of fever. If the patient has got fever, then we can think of diseases that can produce a venous sinus thrombosis like mucormycosis or any other infection that in the organ. Second thing is the cause of this infection or inflammation is somewhere else. Then we are seeing only eye as a part of the whole spectrum. Or it's a case of collagen vascular disease presenting only with periorbital edema. So these are the few, or very rarely obviously, that is a rectobulbar granulomatous disease that can have a fever and bilateral swelling with periorbital edema.
But if you see this patient now, just have some granuloma, all is unlike.
Now, if the patient is being treated, you cannot differentiate now. So it is the presentation. You are obviously treated, and patient must have something which has improved our condition. Otherwise, he cannot have this problem.
Sudden
Cannot-
onset.
This is
Sudden onset.
Yes, it can have sudden onset.
Periorbital edema with fever. One thing which is of course rare is Trichinella spidalis infection. There's a worm which can cause periorbital edema.
Very rare.
Very rare. We don't comment on
Relation with the postpartum.
No relation with postpartum. And the cavernous sinus thrombosis, definitely we have a
All
point.
in the postpartum fever, hypercoagulable state, there must be some.
Now, in
Okay, carry on.
So as I has rightly mentioned, we were also thinking in terms of tubercular sepsis with the multi-organ involvement, along with cortical venous thrombosis. And obviously in India, any case of fever of suspected infectious origin, tuberculosis has to be kept in mind. And acute nephritis went to the fact that she had periorbital edema. So on further investigation, hemoglobin was slightly low at the range of 9.7 gram%. Remaining parameters like the total leukocyte count, differential counts and platelets were within normal limit. Blood sugar was 97 and blood urea was slightly raised to 49 milligrams per deciliter and serum creatinine was 2.0. Sodium was on the lower limit with 129, potassium was 5.1 milliequivalents per liter, protein 6.5 with albumin 4, globulin 2.5. Liver enzymes raised to the level of AST 89, AST 88 and alkaline phosphatase was 194. Uric acid was 5.4 and calcium 9.4. On urine examination, routine and microscopy, we saw 2 to 3 pulses per high power field with albumin level +++ with trace of sugar. No obvious cast was seen. 24 urine protein was 450. Urine CS did not show growth of any pathogens. On the chest X-ray, apart from some raised bronchovascular markings, no obvious deformity was there. ECG was also within the normal limit. Now we did the USG whole abdomen. So USG, as we can see, there is a mild hepatomegaly with mild ascites. The right and left kidney sizes were normal with cortical medullary deficiencies normal. This was the USG. Except the thin layer of fluid. There is a mild ascites not clinically detectable. There is only hepatomegaly. Rest of the parameters were normal. So subsequently echo was also done, and echo showed only mild MR and AR with a thin layer of pericardial fluid. Otherwise, rest parameters were normal with ejection fraction of 70%. Now, with headache and edema, we first did the MRI of brain. So MRI of brain clearly showed a hyperintense lesion at the head of the caudate nucleus, which was reported as a non-enhancing hyperintense area in the head of the caudate nucleus over the left side and appearing gliotic over the areas. So we did an MRI angio for the further investigation, and MRI angio turned out to be within normal limit. There were no enhancement of contrast seen. So with this, what were differences can we think of?
MRI venogram should be done, and several cases presented where MR venogram will be perhaps not only that, even without even proper watch of this case, you can find out the cause of the hypercoagulable condition. So I think MR venogram might be
venous thrombosis.
Again, I will repeat the urea kidney.
Yes, it was repeated later. We will come to those slides.
So can I move comment on this? The patient is a reported age group patient, presenting in periorbital liver, having renal dysfunction, having proteinuria. If you consider all these things, first and foremost diagnosis should be cholangitis. And patient has got inflammatory lesion of the, I think, CNS. So either it may be a part of the secondary APLA or in case of hypercoagulation. So I think this should be the consider in this patient.
So keeping that in mind, we did the APLA, which turned out to be negative. The RF factor was also negative, ANA negative. Then further we proceeded towards anti-double stranded DNA, and that turned out to be positive.
पॉजिटिव होगा, साथ में होता है। डबल स्ट्रैंडेड डीएनए वाज पॉजिटिव।
We did the whole assay.
SM positive, stone was positive.
Though there is no history of any significant drug intake, only occasional analgesia, and the history has also been reported as positive.
What is the substrate for Hep of this ANA test? It was Hep2 cells that was done. Can you just tell me? Is it possible to tell what is the substrate used for ANA? Because it's extremely rare to find ANA negative and DNA
No,
positive.
it should be positive.
So biopsy of the renal tissue was done, and it was reported as stage 3 lupus nephritis. Stage 4 lupus nephritis.
Dr. Sahu have treated this patient.
Age adapted told it there is nothing new to it.
No. What you have given? A sacrifice of what?
Yeah,
We have started with pulse therapy of steroid, hydrosteroid and mycophenolate.
Mycophenolate plus and after that within
Improved
2 weeks, and then gradually hardly it is 3 months before
She came to us in the month of February.
So now she is whole thing initially she was unable to open the eye and she was wandering just like
করা হয়নি।
But it was after SLE diagnosis
ঠিক
treatment
আছে,
very well.
what is the cause of that?
I was telling you, is it a secondary associated with thrombosis also?
Yes.
Definitely, definitely. Otherwise, why there is eye swelling?
Why?
Why there is eye
It
swelling?
was not, it was a lead edema, but it was the closure of both the eye.
The initial protein examination showed 500 milligram per day. Then subsequently, after 3 days, it was run 1.6 gram. So there was a proteinuria of significant proteinuria. That was the cause.
No, what
Ajay, why was cyclophosphamide
Corded
not
lobe
chosen?
enhancement. What is the cause of
Mycophenolate?
corded lobe enhancement?
No, why did you go for mycophenolate?
Mycophenolate, both
Because
are equally
reported
good.
it.
No, but
Now, current-
mycophenolate is costlier, no?
No. The one problem is that what Dr. Ganguly was telling, the cyclophosphamide probably in the reproductive tube should be avoided if possible.
Because it causes ovarian failure.
Yes, it can, but there are
But
plenty
both
of
are
ways
equally
to.
good.
I think
Current-
railway government may also provide amendment. I don't know.
I think
Current therapy.
the interesting point in this case is ANA negativity. That is the point that will strikes us all. Everywhere, even Professor Ganguly, everywhere in rheumatology, this is the common. ANA negative. If you look at Harrison's, extremely rare, but not impossible. You can get it. I think that is the case.
And sir, one
Number one. Number two, when you get ANA negative, you have got several other antibodies.
Actually, sir, we had screened the patient.
DNA, but it is very, very unusual that ANA negative with anti-DNA positive. You can have SM, you can have APLAS, all those, but and I think Dr. Ganguly probably will comment on that. ANA negative, anti-DNA positive.
NA is positive in 98% of cases.
Yes.
But
Hey,
SM is
how far you have done the
Yes,
that's
NTDS DNA positivity is SM.
Hey, now, from where you have done the episode?
which lab?
Which lab?
ANA here.
It was done outside, sir.
All that means Peptocell was not probably used.
Maybe. And sir, one thing is that double stranded DNA and along with the spin.
SM.
And stones is also positive.
Then one, two, these two are present. It is specific for SM.
And what anti-histone drug-induced SLE versus the normal SLE? Dr. Ganguly sir, what's the opinion? Is it a drug-induced SLE?
No chance of
Then
drug.
how many percentage are stones are present with the double stranded?
Sir, what is
No,
the
no,
role?
no.
Yes, C3C4. What
And
is C3C4?
histone is positive, sorry, SM is positive only 25% of cases. On SM positive,
No,
class
such a renal
100%.
biopsy is never postulated
And-
drug into
Sir,
this.
On two are
Sir,
present.
renal involvement means renal and CNS involvement means the drug is not the cause.
Yes.
What is the
Yes,
there?
drug will not.
Drug is not the cause. When
And
CNS
two are present is specific.
Yes,
Histone
yes.
is like
It is not
And who is there doesn't matter.
Specific.
No, no.
So, no, sir, this report was confusing to us when we were discussing. The histone says 4 plus, the space double stranded 4 plus, and D1 is the 4 plus. That's why it is a non-significant.
No, no,
problem.
if it is a negative dsDNA and negative anti-SM
And cyst-
with positive histone,
Then possibly
then you
not
can
drug.
think of histone.
And
But
history
with
clinically is not
Yes,
there.
but if there is renal involvement and CNS involvement,
CNS and
with
renal-
telltale evidence of clinical SLE,
And
I don't think
and
histone
and
should
it
be
is clinically
considered.
fitting plus this.
Yes.
And two is positive.
That's why the first presentation postpartum with this and that.
And now it is very much established that only SLE flare occurs in pregnancy.
Yes.
Not only not pregnancy, I think it should be very specific, peripartum.
Very
Yes,
specific.
Very specific that you within 6 weeks of having a birth of a baby, if a reporting age group female patient present with any presentation of renal or cardiac or presentation, then it is SLE
And
first.
one of his sister died recently. Elder sister undiagnosed.
For SLE?
Yes.
Undiagnosed.
Undiagnosed.
And किडनी के कारण ही बोल रहा है something.
In
this case,
Sir, when she died with
In this case, typical features of CNS infection in a case of SLE is not present. Actually, cognitive dysfunction, seizure, psychosis, all these are CNS manifestation of SLE.
No, no,
Yes,
but
yes,
this is
yes,
the-
Here is a vasculitis.
Yes.
Here is a vasculitis.
No, I think the CNS SLE is a totally different issue. Most of the time, it's in fact the Western world still thinking it's a thromboembolic features, particularly secondary Apgar syndrome, the commonest cause of SLE manifestation of CNS involvement. But in our country, some part of vasculitis and particularly the anti-SLE, brain antibodies like some of the mitochondrial or CNS antibodies also have some playing some role. But most of the time, CNS involvement is rare. More or less is a renal involvement that presents the present.
And then in this
very
case, there is a
rare.
specific-
Periorbital edema
Yeah.
is a part of the butterfly rash in her case. I don't think the CNS was
But it
involved.
was the typical picture was that absolutely closed eyes. She was looking like a
not
blind.
able to see.
Yeah.
Periorbital edema is not a feature. It
But
is
Is
not
it
a part of.
is it a part of the
Not a part of butterfly.
nephropathy or a part of
No,
the
what-
some hypercoagulable state?
No,
That
but-
would be
but-
mentioned.
But the CT,
উনি হচ্ছে যে প্রোটিনিয়ার জন্য।
Although that C had
But
no
one thing is
equation.
very important,
Yeah.
that if there is no papilledema
Yes.
or venous congestion, then the chances of cavernous sinus or venous thrombosis becomes less.
Yes. And this
Now-
spontaneous treatment.
but another thing is, what is the MRI of this, orbit source? There is no edema
No,
or
nothing,
anything.
nothing.
So
Nothing.
that indicates
So,
somewhere else.
CNS
So-
involvement.
So we may be somewhat confused, it may be a part of nephrotic syndrome.
Yes.
I said.
Yes.
Okay, carry on the fourth case.
Thank you.